Welcome, everyone. It's our 4th annual Read-a-Thon. Can you believe it? We started during COVID, and here we are 4 years into it, and we are still doing live readings. So we're excited to be here today. I'm very excited because we have Bruce HALE back. Yes, aloha, Bruce. Right?
Aloha.
Thank you so much, Bruce. You were here last year, and we're so grateful that you have given us your talents again. You have over 70 books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including Chet Gecko, which is a huge favorite, and we get them in. We get so many of those because those are like quick reads, and a lot of people they get them and they share them, which is a great thing. And then you
Nice.
have Clark the Shark, another one, huge help, and great book that the kids love to read. And then last year you read Switched for us, a little bit of Switched, and today you're going to do Super Troop, right?
That's right.
All right, so we're grateful to have you here. I just want to let the kids know a little bit more about you, and you can talk a little bit more about yourself too. But when you're not illustrating, you love to perform. You're a jazz performer, correct? Is that true?
Yep. These days, mostly Latin jazz.
Latin jazz. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take myself off the screen, and I'm going to let you do what you do best. And then when you're done, we're going to do a Q&A. So for all the teachers and schools that are on here, get your questions ready for Bruce when you're done. And I want to give a special shout out. We have Glenn Cove in the house. Patty Lucci is a teacher that is always in our warehouse getting some of your books for her children. And then just bringing them back and sharing the love of reading with the kids that are on here. So I wanted to give a shout out to Glen Cove and Patty, and we have some Freeport schools and Baldwin. So welcome, everyone. Get your questions ready, and I will be back when you are done reading.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, hello, everyone, or as we say in my former hometown, aloha. Yes, by that, of course, you figured out I spent a lot of time in a beautiful place called Pittsburgh. No, Hawaii. I make stuff up, but hey, that's what authors do. Today, I am here to share with you one of my newest novels, Super Troop. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how this book came to be. I imagine there's probably a few of you out there who are in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or Brownies or Cub Scouts. Well, I was one of those as well. I was in the Boy Scouts, and unlike most Boy Scout troops, mine was actually run by my dad, who was an ex-Marine and tough as nails. And he had us performing like little bitty Marines, dress right, dress, forward, march. And of course, we were all very resistant to that sort of order and, having to march and do all these things. And so that was kind of the kernel that got this book started. I thought, okay, so what if we had a real undisciplined kid, which I have to confess was a little bit like me. And what if we put him in this area where he has to be, follow discipline and do these things that he's ordered to do? How would he react? And then I thought, let's see, what would make it even worse? Ooh, what if this was his summer camp? So, we think of summer camp as being fun, but what if it was the worst summer camp imaginable? That's what's going on here. The hero of this book, Cooper, has to join the Boy Rangers and do their summer camp, and he hates it. But here in the beginning is the incident that sets it off and gets him, so he has to join the Boy Rangers. All right, this is chapter 1, Robot Pirates. In my defense, it seemed like a fun idea at the time. I mean, seriously, who hasn't thought about jumping off a theme park ride to go exploring, right? It was the weekend before the last week of school. Our moms had taken me and my best friend, Ignacio Nacho Perez, to the perkiest place on earth, aka Putin's Family Funland, for an almost end of school celebration. Maybe you go there all the time, but this was kind of a big deal for me because my mom's always working. So anyway, there we stood, the 5 of us, 2 moms, me and Nacho, and his little sister, Maria, waiting in line for the Prince of Pirates ride. Jolly pirate music blasted from the speakers. Pink cotton candy covered Maria's face and hands, and she was whining about needing the bathroom again. Then Nacho got an inspiration. I can always tell because one of his eyebrows arches up like a supervillain concocting an evil plan. You know, he told his mom, you guys could take Maria for her bathroom break while we go on the ride. Oh, I don't, Mrs. Perez began. Great idea, I chimed in. We're going to be in 7th grade soon. We're old enough to ride this by ourselves. The two moms exchanged a look. If they'd been a cartoon, their thought balloons would have said, can we trust them? Doubtful. But I'd love to get out of the sun. Plus, adult beverages. Please, Nacho and I chorused, almost in harmony. Need to go potty, Maria added while doing the pee-pee dance. Mom sighed. All right, have fun, you two. We'll see you in a half hour or so. Right over there, added Mrs. Perez, in case we were brain damaged. Geez, it's like they didn't trust us or something. So unfair. Nacho waited until their backs were turned to give me a fist bump. Finally, after 15 more minutes in line, we piled in, and with a rush, the boat took off. As we floated into the mouth of a giant skull, a recorded voice rumbled, "Beware the Prince of Pirates," and we disappeared into darkness. I love this part, said Nacho. I opened my mouth to agree, but my words turned into a woo as the bottom dropped out beneath our boat. My stomach hopped up into my throat. The girls behind us squealed. Down the rapids we plunged, landing with a splash. The cool spray soothed my sunburned face. Watching the robot pirates, I admired the ride, how perfect and how fun it was. And it all started with a great idea. If I wanted to be a famous cartoonist and animator, I needed to come up with a dope idea like that. Soon, I promised myself. I half sang along with the yo ho ho and a bottle of rum song. Nacho nudged me. I'm bored. Seriously? This is the best ride in the park. Glancing up at the skeletons dangling from the ship's mast, he said, yeah, it's an adventure, but it's a safe adventure. Nacho looked at me with eyebrows raised. That look had gotten us into some interesting situations and a fair amount of trouble. I raked my fingers through my hair. Nacho and I were the perfect team. Usually he was the inspiration guy and I was the solutions guy. Nacho identified the problem and I came up with ways to solve it. So I wondered, what would make this ride more fun? The boat rounded a curve. Up ahead lay the village where all the robot pirates were looting and pillaging, scaring robot townspeople and stealing gold. Ever since I was little, I'd always wanted to be one of those buccaneers. And that got me thinking. A thrill shivered through me. I glanced over at Nacho. Want to play pirates? A wicked smile curved his lips. Arr, matey. As our boat swung close to the wharf, where a robot dog was chewing on a drunken pirate's leg, I gave Nacho the nod. Let's go! Scrambling up onto the boat's prow, we jumped for the dock. Nacho went first, but his leap pushed the boat away from shore. Then I jumped, soaking one leg to the knee and banging the other on the wharf before making it onto dry ground. Hey, cried one of the high school girls, you can't do that. And yet, said Nacho, giving a theatrical bow, we are. Cackling like maniacs, we scampered down the dock, my left sneaker squishing with every step. More shouts and hoots erupted behind us. Someone call security, a red-faced man shouts. A kid cheered. We ignored them all. Swaggering up the street, Nacho and I belted out the yo-ho song for all we were worth. Arr, I growled. This is so cool, he crowed. I felt all tingly and wide awake. This was what adventure was about, living life to the fullest. I'd always been scared to do something this bold, but not anymore. This was our summer. We approached a fearsome pirate robot brandishing his cutlass. "Hey, handsome," said Nacho, "how about a selfie?" Fishing my phone from my pocket, I captured the moment. And as we turned to go, Nacho kicked our pirate friend in the butt. We were laughing like fools. Approaching a storefront, I cupped a hand beside my eyes and peered through the glass. The back wall stood only a foot away, but it was painted to look like the inside of a real store. All smoke and mirrors. Still, it was pretty cool to be getting a peek behind the curtain at one of my favorite rides. "Hey, Coop, check this out," called Nacho. I joined him by the stone wall with the yowling cat on top. Looking where he pointed, I saw, through a gap between the buildings, a flat black wall, like backstage at a theater. People in the boats couldn't see us, so couldn't see it, only us. "What's that all about?" I asked. Nacho led the way between the shallow buildings, and as we drew closer, I saw a door with a glowing red exit sign above it. Not very piratical looking. Then I caught another flash of red from the corner of my eye. When I turned, I saw it was the light on a wall-mounted camera, and the camera was pointed straight at us. "Hey, chamaco," I said. Nacho glanced over. "Yeah, chamaco?" Chamaco means something like kiddo in Mexican slang. It was our favorite nickname for each other. I pointed. "They've got eyes on us." "Then we better bounce." But which way to escape? We glanced back at the boats, then at the exit. The door, we said together, and hustled over there at top speed. Nacho turned the doorknob, and we blinked at the sudden brightness. We'd stepped into a squeaky clean corridor that looked more like a hospital hallway than a pirate paradise. But the hallway's decor wasn't the first thing I noticed. No, that would be the two beefy security guards standing right in front of us with their arms crossed. "You boys get lost?" rumbled the bigger guard. A nervous laugh escaped me. I wish we could. And that is a little taste of Super Troop.
It's a great place to leave because you got me wanting more, right? You want to, we know that they're in trouble and we know that something's going to happen, but there's a difference between adventure and not using it. Yeah, trouble. That is great. This is out. This is your new book, so it's been out since last year. How's it been received?
Very well. Yeah, it was actually in the Georgia State Reading Award. It was one of the finalists, and I've been getting some good feedback on it.
That's great. I saw. I think the best compliment was I saw a young girl does live reviews, and she was just saying this is the funniest book, and it will keep you going. So don't listen to us. Listen to your peers. She was giving it high reviews. So that's fantastic. So I do see we have one teacher wanted to know what message would you want the kids to take away from this book?
I try not to write messages. I think messages are something you send through Western Union or email.
Yes.
What I try to do is write a good story that's engaging. But that said, a character needs to grow during the course of the story. And what Coop learns in this story is that it's okay to be more regimented and be a little more responsible, because he tends to be just impulse driven. He does whatever he thinks, but by the end, he's learned to think twice a little more and listen to his.
I think because he goes to a camp, right?
Right. He goes to a camp, the Boy Rangers camp, which is his idea of hell on earth. I mean, he hates it.
It sounds pretty trying. It sounds like you're in, right? It's like a boot camp almost.
Exactly, like a boot camp for kids.
And what made you think of the Boy Rangers camp? Like, where did that come from?
Well, I wanted to do something that was kind of like Boy Scouts, because as I said earlier, I based my experience, my experience in Boy Scouts was the basis for this. But I thought, well, so many kids go through summer camp. So what if you made it kind of a summer camp situation where the Boy Rangers has people come in for like a short period, 6 weeks or something like that.
Mhm.
They test out whether they're going to join long term.
That's
So this is
fantastic.
his, yeah, this is his worst summer camp experience imaginable.
So I think you kind of alluded to this, but are Coop and Nacho, are they based on anyone you know, or?
I drew some elements of myself for Coop. Like Coop is, he's a wannabe cartoonist. And when I was in
Mhm.
my teens, that's what I wanted to be. That was my big goal, to be a cartoonist. And Nacho, some of his personality is based on my childhood best friend, Billy, who was also in the Boy Scouts with me. But most of him I just made up.
And I love that Nacho, no, Coop is like Asian American, right? So you kind of
Yeah,
trying to bring in like that's some of your time because you spent tell the children you've been all over the world, right?
I have. Yeah, I lived in Tokyo for 2 years and I lived in Honolulu for 15. And Honolulu is such a great ethnic mix. I mean, most of the people I knew were multiracial there, most of my friends.
Which
So
is
that for
awesome.
me, that's a very natural world to write about because I'm very comfortable with it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, one of the teachers, this is actually regarding Clark the Shark.
Mhm.
Clark the Shark has such a nice disposition. Why did you choose to make him such a nice character?
Well, in picture books, you have to have a sympathetic character, even if the character is in trouble or, does bad things. They have to be inherently likable. Otherwise, we won't root for them. So that's basically why.
And he's adorable. He's
Yeah.
that's a great character. I love reading all the books.
Yeah. He's
Um,
trying his best.
he is. I love when he's after the little his girlfriend with the heart shell.
Oh, yes.
That's so cute. Have you ever started a book and then decided it wasn't what you wanted to do and didn't finish it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and in fact, Switched was one of those books. I started it as an epic fantasy where a boy and his dog go on this great adventure and they're fighting wizards and all this stuff. And it just wasn't working. And I found like something about it wasn't clicking, but there was one piece of it that I really liked where the boy and the dog have a curse thrown on them and their souls switch bodies. And I thought, well, that maybe that's the heart of the story. So I just junked all the rest of the stuff that I'd plotted out and rewrote it, focusing on that.
That's great. And in the
Yeah.
past, we've talked about we called it sloppy copies, I think, when you
Yes.
send and I think it's worth repeating for the children that are watching this year in that if you want to talk a little bit about when you send a copy and you get some back, because everybody gets, when children get something back from a teacher, they feel like, well, the teacher didn't like it or I didn't do it right, but that's not, it's just a learning process of how to make things better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like my first draft is so ugly, I would not show it to anybody. I'm serious. It's got misspellings, it's got bad grammar, it's got parts where I don't know what's going to happen. So I'll say something exciting goes here. And so that the first draft is just trying to get a rough idea what the story is about. And so
Mhm.
I'll usually revise the story at least 3, sometimes 4 times before I send it off to my editor. And then the editor will probably go through at least another couple of edits with me. But, I don't take it personally. We're both in service of the story and we're trying to make it the best it can be. So
Right.
I
And you
learned
don't have to
something
be
with each draft.
exactly. You don't have to be perfect out of the gate. Sometimes it
No.
takes tweaking and making it better. Okay, so Mrs. Lucci's, oh, hi, Mrs. Lucci. Her class wants to know how long does it take to write Super Troopers? And that's one question. And then she wants to know what is your inspiration for Chet Gecko?
Okay. So Super Troop, this one took me about, I want to say probably about 9 months, including plotting the story, writing it, and revising it. And then, of course, I did the illustrations in here as well. So it's got a lot of spot illustrations, little
Mm-hmm.
cartoons that are supposed to be like Coop's cartoons. And then Chet Gecko came about because, well, I was living in Hawaii and I wanted to write a mystery. I couldn't figure out a good character. And I was like, who am I going to get as the main character here? And one day I was just driving home from work, cruising down the freeway, and I see this little movement on the hood of my car. And I look closer, and there, with his little feet glued to the hood of the car and the wind blowing him, is this little brown gecko. And I'm driving along, watching this guy, waiting for him to blow off. And I go around a curve and go, and the gecko goes, and I drive the other way, another curve, and the gecko's still hanging on. And I thought, wow, this is no ordinary lizard. Clearly, this guy is Super Gecko. And
That's fantastic.
that was my inspiration. I said, well, what does he have to do? Hold up a sign saying, put me in a book? So, so I said, okay, the gecko will be the detective. And that was that.
Which you did, and too bad he's not getting any of the rights to
it. That's true. Well, that gecko's descendants are probably the ones who would get the royalties. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Let me just see what else we. Oh, you had mentioned in a past interview with us that it took you 8 years to get published, right?
That's right.
What kept you? How did you stay motivated during that time? Because I'm sure some of the kids here, not that they're authors, but I'm sure they need to stay motivated, ways to keep motivated, stay into their work, do the things that they need to do. How did you stay motivated?
Well, to be honest, I did give up several times, but I always came back to it. What I got in touch with was, how much do I want this? How badly do I want to be published? And then I just realized, okay, well, if they still said no, then I've got to do something. I've got to take some action and try sending it out to somebody else, maybe try to improve the story. And so then I'd kind of rally and I'd revise the story, then I'd send it out and collect more rejection letters. So this went on for quite a while. But the thing is my writing was improving every year, because I was also taking workshops. I was involved in critique groups. So my writing was getting better and better. And so when it finally got good enough to publish, it was a matter of luck, just hitting the right publisher at the right time. And that's what happened with Chet Gecko.
Wow. And you soared, went and soared right afterwards, because you've done tremendous, and we're so grateful for your talent, because it entertains so many different kids. Speaking of which, you have so many different genres in which you write. What is, from easy readers to picture books to, this chapter book, what is your favorite to write?
It just depends on my mood. Sometimes I like something that's shorter and involves lots of wordplay, that's more like a picture book. Sometimes I really want to stretch out and dive deep into the characters. So it varies from time to time. Like right now I'm working on a novel and I'm enjoying exploring the personality of the characters. But after that, I'll probably go back and write another picture book.
Love that. And you had mentioned, do you have another series coming out?
Yeah, that's working on right now. The title of the series is the Outer Space Pizza Mystery Club. Okay,
so all our kids have to keep an eye out for that one, that's for sure.
Yes, exactly.
What is one character that you haven't written about but is on your list to do?
A character I haven't written about. Well, the one that comes to mind is, I've been thinking for a while it would be fun to do a middle grade novel based on my own experience discovering drama in high school, getting into acting and stuff. So I'm thinking of setting that in a middle school, and that's a character and an area that I would love to explore, because I have lots of great memories about that.
That's great. And I wanted to, before I forget, I wanted to put give them your website, because what I do love about your website is you give some really good advice about writer's block and things that maybe some of the kids who have a paper that they need to write, or something that they're doing and they're like, I don't know what to do, they could go to your website. So what is your website?
So it's just my name, brucehale.com. And HALE is spelled H-A-L-E. And if you go to the videos page, you'll see lots of videos of writing tips, how to revise, how to brainstorm, how to deal with writer's block. So yeah, I put a lot of stuff up there for young writers to just to help out.
Yeah, I think that that's very helpful because I always try to like make these readings about your books, but how does it, the kids that we're speaking to today, how can we inspire them to become writers, whether they want to be writers to author a book, or they want to just make sure their papers are correct, or just any way in which we can inspire them to write. What was the
Absolutely.
one thing where you felt like this is where I want to do, this is what I want to do?
You mean like the event that,
And yeah,
turned
it
me
was
into a
there.
writer?
Yeah.
I don't know that there was just one event. Part of what made me want to be a writer, especially a writer of children's books, was when I was a kid, I was a total TV addict. I did not like books until one very sad day when a close friend died. The TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the TV died in the middle of my favorite program, and my parents said they didn't have enough money to buy a new TV, so they started reading to me. And the story that caught my imagination was Tarzan. And I just loved, the adventure in the jungle and swinging through trees and stuff. And so I just, at that point, I think I decided this is really kind of cool. I wonder if I can do something like that. And so, many years later, I took a lot of detours, but I came back to it and just said, yeah, I think it's time to try writing something.
Tarzan has inspired a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Do you have any last, because we're almost done here, any last advice for the children that we have here? And I'm not sure the grade levels, but everybody's got a phone in their hands. And while I believe phones are good, but it's so important to have a book in your hand. And that's what we're all about. That's what we're working with amazing teachers like Miss Lucci to make, have the kids understand reading is the way out, and books in your hand are the most important way to do it. Any advice about reading, or, were you a reluctant reader, or were you a...
Yeah, I was a totally reluctant reader. And what I've discovered in the time since then is the reason to read. I mean, you don't need to read just, because reading is fun, even though it is. But if you want to succeed in life, reading is the foundation for that. And they've done studies where they found that if you read for pleasure, you do better on tests, you're more engaged with your community, you're a leader in your community. So, for all kids who might be listening, don't just read for the fun of it, which is good. I mean, it's great to read for the fun of it, but if you're reluctant to read, just think about what it will do for your life. It will improve your life so much. Your imagination will be stronger. And when you have a strong imagination, you can envision a different life. You can create something new, like you could invent a cool device like this. You could, there's no limits. You could come up with an idea on how to send human beings to Mars. That's all from the imagination, and nothing strengthens the imagination like reading does.
Yes. And you mentioned one word, and that's you're a leader, right? And if you want to be a leader, then that's an important thing. You need to be educated and you need to read. So for all the kids, for all the children that are listening, grab those books. Thank your teachers, because they're incredible, and we thank the teachers that come to us every month. Bruce and I were talking before, and we have teachers that come to our book bank every month and take upwards of 20,000 books, in 3 hours. So we thank you all. Get your books. If you don't have enough books, ask your teachers to come see us, because we have plenty for them, and we want to get them in your hands, and we can get you some of Bruce's books, because they're in our warehouse. Literally, I'm going to take more pictures, because I know I sent them to you last year, but I'll send more because they're high interest for sure. And we thank you so much for your time. And I hope, I'm being presumptive, but I hope you'll be back again next year. And we thank you all, and reading is the way up. So thank you, and have a great day.
All right, you too. And as they say, where I come
aloha.
from, aloha.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.